Aesthetically speaking, Bloodborne should be my least favorite From Software game, but oh my god, I had a lot of fun with it.
AJ Review.
Welcome back, classy crew, to another first impression of a game, this time Bloodborne, which was another one recommended in the 12 Days of Heijay. It was my 10th one. This game, oh my god. Okay, so Bloodborne, coming in now from Dark Souls. I've replayed a little bit of Sekiro. I was not expecting to want to keep playing it. In fact, I went over my stream time because I had troubles putting this game down. But it's not all rainbows and unicorns. This game, I almost want to rage quit at the beginning. So we're going to talk about all that. But first, I just want to say, in terms of aesthetics, Bloodborne should not have been this appealing to me. I do not like horror. I do not like horror theme. I think this is all based on like Lovecraftian themes, which I have no appetite for, no interest in. I haven't read or watched or done anything in that genre. But Dark Souls, knights, medieval fantasy, I'm all about that. Sekiro, like Eastern mythology, samurais, ninjas, I'm into that. So Bloodborne was not one I was expecting to like. But man, the fighting feels so good, and it has that exploration aspect of Dark Souls, which I like. And I know some of you are going to call me out of like, you don't even explore in Dark Souls. Maybe not to your standards, but to my standards, I do. So let's talk about my reintroduction to Bloodborne, because I did pick this up. I remember playing this 3-4 years ago whenever I got it, and I didn't even make it out of the house. I was in a house, and the whole intro just freaked me out. I ran into a wolf, and I had no weapons, and I died, and I was like, this game's dumb. I'm never playing this again. So going back now with the Dark Souls mindset, I was like, all right, I know that there's a wolf here. I don't have a weapon. What do I do? And I'm just like, oh, it's already at half health. Let's see what I can do. And I started slapping this pooch, and I could see its health going down. I was like, oh, he's fairly easy to dodge. Thank you, Dark Souls and Monster Hunter. So I'm like, can I kill the wolf? And I just kept dodging and slapping him. And like after 2 minutes of just slapping the wolf, I successfully killed him. And I was like, oh, you can kill it, but it didn't do anything. So that kind of like blew my appetite. But people were kind of excited of like, oh, am I actually going to progress without dying? Because I learned later that you're supposed to die to that wolf, because the game doesn't really start until you die once, which is a very interesting mechanic. So I died to the next dude, who was an axe, because he had an axe and a torch, and I tried to take him on with my slaps, and he killed me properly. So from that point, I went to my hub world. See, I didn't even know Bloodborne had a hub world. So I love hubs, so I was all excited about that. I got my first weapon, which is the saw, I forget the full name, which switches. And now I can appreciate switching weapons thanks to my Monster Hunter experience. So I love, like, you can either hit with a like small amount, and then when you're hitting, you can switch mid-hit to like open it on people, and then you got more range and you just swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Ugh, it is so satisfying. Like, I love sawing people. And now I got the pistol. I'm not a big gun guy. So the pistol wasn't appealing to me, and people are like, oh, that's how you parry, and that just confused me. So I get out into the town, and I hear like this big ogre stalking. I'm like, all right, we're going to test my Monster Hunter Dark Souls skills against this monster. This is clearly a challenge for the experience From Software a player. So that's me. I'm going to go try to kill this thing. And so I died many times, and I didn't progress at all on the ogre, and I was like, okay, maybe I don't understand how to play this game. We're going to come back to this later. So I kind of wandered the streets. There was a lot of mobs, and I was just kind of killing everything, and I was dying a few times to like larger mobs, or just not understanding where to go, not to aggro the whole thing. And for the most part, it was enjoyable until I hit a part where I kept dying either to a specific mob or the next mob, and I had to do this massive run back through the streets and killing all the same enemies over and over again. And that was really unsatisfying, and I was getting to the point where I'm like, I don't like this game because it hasn't hooked me in yet. I'm going down the same street, killing the same people, dying the same way, and I'm not feeling like I'm progressing or getting it. And so I was getting to the point where I was starting to get frustrated. Luckily, I think I made it to the sewers. The chat guided me to a shortcut, which opened up the world a little bit. And honestly, like, some people are saying that's not the true Bloodborne experience, but that little help got me over the hump I needed to really enjoy the game. Because now that I had a shortcut from my lantern, I could actually go out and explore different things instead of running down the same street. And now I could explore and take on different enemies and try things. And I even made it to a point where there's an opening where you can actually kill an ogre. Like you come up from the back from these bigger dudes and you can actually hit him in the back and then you kill him fast. And later on, I'm like, all right, let's try practicing against one of these like rock throwers who like bash you with a rock. And I got the parry where you shoot him and it takes off so much life, and it felt so satisfying that I was now starting to get into the groove where everything was starting to click. Like the combat was starting to click. I also learned, you have to be a little bit more aggressive than Dark Souls because you get rewarded. And I love this mechanic because in Dark Souls, I often sometimes slip up with the first hit and then I get hit. But in Bloodborne, when that happens, if you just hit back, you get that health back if you're aggressive and good enough. And that's just the little nudge I need to make the game even more like tolerable, where I'm not always worried about my health. There's also a ton of I'm always stacking a bunch of potions, so my health is never much of an issue. And overall, after I got over that first initial difficulty spike, I call it a difficulty spike, you might not, it was very comfortable. All the rest of the game kind of offered paths where I could only take on maybe 2-3 enemies at a time, which was way more comfortable than that street where you have to take on a half a dozen at once a few times. So I kept exploring, loved exploring, found myself some nice gear so I have that more Victorian look. I actually looked like the guy on the cover, and it was just a really good time. And I ended up on a bridge where I encountered my first boss, which was the cleric beast.
Hello there.
And that's when I started freaking out. So I went right into Dark Souls mode. I'm like, all right, we're gonna hug the butt and we're gonna roll. And I started getting punished. I was like, oh no, it's not the same formula. How do you fight boss? I have to relearn how to fight bosses in Bloodborne. What's the mechanic? And I can't say I figured it out yet because I kind of just panicked my way through, but I took it on more like a hunt where it's a big boss, it has attacks, dodge the attacks, go in, slash it a few times, step back, and it was more of that. It wasn't, the rolls were not as helpful as I was hoping that they would be. So after some stress, I think I was very close to dying, but I actually managed to beat the cleric beast on my first go. I was like, oh, progress. And I got this huge high and I was excited. And everyone's like, that was an optional boss. And I was like, oh man, but also, oh yeah, cool. I got to find and kill an optional boss. So kept making my way. And I know that there's not much to say because the core gameplay, I was really just enjoying. I enjoyed making my way through the city, finding things, finding quests, which are actually given through the windows. And it was just way more comfortable than Dark Souls once you get over that first hump. So eventually I found my way to my first boss, which is Father Gascoigne. And this is apparently everybody's first major wall. And he almost walled me because, man, he's fast. He shoots you and he slashes you. So he's built like you. He's a humanoid. And I realize, I'm like, well, in From Software games, usually you have to when there's a humanoid, you have to use kind of everything that's available to you. So I'm like, maybe this is the fight that makes sure that I learned how to parry. And once I started parrying, that's when I saw the openings start coming up. And I figured I could have walked up to him and pushed R1, and I guess I was too far because at no point after the parry did I get the animated lock-in, but people told me that should have happened, so I don't think I was close enough when I hit R1. But I parried him a few times. Otherwise, he was intense and aggressive, and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to take on these bosses. They're too aggressive. But just through reflexes and pure survival skills, I made it. I had no potions left. I was maybe 1 or 2 hits away from dying, but so was he. And I'm just okay, don't get over greedy. Don't overcommit. Just play it safe and find your opening and finish him off. And finish him off, I did. And that was another just massive whoosh, huge adrenaline rush. So 2 bosses, 2 first tries. I'm ecstatic at this point. So after that, I pretty much wandered into the cathedral area, which seems to be a safe place. Made my way down as I explored, and the chat's not guiding me at this point. So it's all just my curiosity of what's over there. And then I make my way there, and just achieving getting there is so satisfying. And I think a lot of you are going to say that's what I should have felt in Dark Souls. But I didn't. And I made my way to a place where I think it's the old part of town. Anyways, it's a part where there's a sniper on a tower and you have to dodge his bullets.
I can't read.
That part gave me so much trouble. I think I was on that for an hour of just progressing and learning where to position myself. And at no point was I really frustrated with that run back because the mobs were fun to kill. And I was constantly making very tiny progress and learning where I had to go, that I think I got like, I'm like, oh, this is bullshit when I made it to the top of the tower and I learned how hard it was to kill this guy. So later on, the sniper dude who has a machine gun, I learned that once you get up, you just shoot him. Like you spam those bullets and you knock him over the tower, fight over. Like that's what you got to do, because going one-on-one with him, too hard. I don't have time for that. So this is a game, another From Software game. This is probably my favorite From Software game, which is in line with what a lot of you are saying. I did a poll lining up the 3 Dark Souls games, Sekiro and Bloodborne, and I asked you which is your favorite of those 5. And Bloodborne came out on top, which really surprised me. I thought Dark Souls would have more weight in the From Software community, but Bloodborne is clearly has more impact, and I think I understand it why, but I can't quite explain it. I just feel like the balance of difficulty, reward, and everything is just polished off so much better, and the core combat feels so good. The like just getting that feeling of cutting and switching is super satisfying. So yeah, this is a game we're definitely going into 2022, and considering I one shot the 2 bosses, I will probably pledge Bloodborne, because this is a game I'm not invested in the story, but I'm invested in the gameplay, and I want to revisit it, especially considering I was so addicted to it during the stream and didn't want to stop the stream. So let's kick off 2022 strong with a new pledge. I pledge to kill all 22 bosses in Bloodborne. After all, how hard can it be? Do 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 do. Subscribe.